You're listening to the Things of That Nature podcast. Coming to you from a city that never sleeps is me, your host, Rockshana. I invite you to join me in truly honest, passionate, and fun talks that motivate, invigorate, and maybe inspire. Even though we're no longer in the mile high, the sky is still the limit. Everything and anything goes. So let's start talking about things of that nature. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Things of That Nature podcast. I'm your host, Rockshana, and this author trend, this book trend that I've been having lately has continued. You're welcome. Thanks for getting on this trend wagon with me. Today, we have Elisha Shapiro, and yes, I spoiled it because he is an author. So hi, Elisha, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. You know, I started this, of course, was one of those things I started during pandemic, like several other people found some not an odd hobby, but a different hobby during pandemic. And honestly, I don't care who listens or how many downloads. It's all about the fact of meeting several different people. So I definitely thank you for coming on and chatting with me for a little bit.
Well, yes, I thought during the pandemic, I started going through my stories and said, maybe I should put these together in a book. So it's another pandemic inspired thing.
Nice. So you were not an author before this?
Well, I was. I mean, I always liked writing as a kid and growing up, and I taught English at a community college for 30 years. And so, of course, writing was fun. And the last 10, 15 years, I've been like doing storytelling shows where I'd get up and tell one of my funny little stories about, meeting so-and-so or doing a crazy art thing or whatever it was. And so I had like a bunch of stories all written down. So it wasn't that hard for me to go through and say, these all fit together in a really good story together. So yes, so I kind of liked writing, but
Right.
I've never really done a book.
Oh, okay. And you said it was just a pandemic hobby that just evolved?
Yeah, I mean, it's up until the pandemic, pretty much 2 or 3 nights a week, I'd go out and see a comedy show or a sketch show or a storytelling show. And sometimes I'd participate. And then I couldn't do that anymore. So like a year is going by, and I have all this time when I'm not at a live comedy show in LA.
Right. Okay. All right. Years went by. You have all of this information to put somewhere. Finally, you put it in a book. So what is your book about without giving it away?
Well, I mean, it's a memoir. So it's kind of like, all the stories I've been telling have been funny stories from my life. And so then I just put the ones together that kind of led me from being a little kid and the, funny things that happened all the way along the line, and high school and college, and then moving back to LA and doing all the stuff I did. Then ending up being like a weird conceptual artist guy. So it's kind of led from little kid in Riverside, California, to high school in LA, to putting on the Nihilist Olympics in 1984, and then all my other what I think are funny things.
Okay. Was the writing process and putting everything together pretty hard?
No. I mean, I had all the stories in my head and I had them all written down on paper. And so I just I ended up not using like 3/4 of them because they didn't fit into this little thing of saying, okay, here I am growing up, and here I am discovering stuff, and here I am, whatever. I mean, the basic idea here is I'm a shy, kid in a public school, and it's not that much fun. And so each step along the way, I just kind of find weird people like me, and it's really fun because they're all over the place, and they end up showing up at my art things and having a lot of fun with me. So so that's kind of the theme I'm going for here is, however weird I am, I'm, it's in Los Angeles, I've been able to find a community of other people who, are like me. And so I guess you can do that if wherever you are, you might be able to find a community of people to make you feel like, oh, well, I don't care if I'm not like normal people.
Okay. And then really, what is normal?
Right.
We're all pretty weird. I'm super weird.
And that's a good thing, according to my book.
Right. Yep. Now, this is book number 1. Is there book number 2?
Yeah, well, I do have all those other stories I didn't tell, and some of them are pretty funny. And so I'm keeping a list of all the ones that, I didn't tell this story, that story. And so far, they're not fitting into the narrative. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know whether your listeners think about how to structure a book or anything. But so far, there's a bunch of more stories, but I don't know whether I need to have them fit or whether I'll just have them be separate stories or funny stories about, I don't know, the 60s and 70s in Los Angeles, before your time, apparently. But they were fun times to experiment, and they were hippies, and I wanted to be like a hippie and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So anyway, there are other stories.
Okay, that's pretty neat. With your stories and the moments you experience, because obviously that's what your book is about, when you were sitting down and putting it all together, were there any moments of like, man, I regret doing that, or man, I regret not doing that?
Not really. I mean, I'm doing some crazy things, but I don't know, they're not regrettable.
Mm-hmm. They're all happy times, happy, good moments in your life, taught you a lesson somewhere, somehow.
Yeah, I mean, some of them were surprising. I mean, I'm talking about the Nielsen Olympics just because that's like the first big art thing I did. And so, I mean, my job was to be a press release writer for Inglewood Parks and Recreation. And my friends were in the Olympics were coming to LA in 1984. And my friends were all sitting around saying, oh, it would be funny if we had this Olympic event, or the U-turn competition, or the decathlon of housework, kind of coming up, kind of making fun of the Olympics. And so I just sit down and wrote a press release about how the Nielsen Olympics were coming to LA. This was like 1980, 81. And so I sent it out because I knew how to do that. And the surprising part was the LA Times showed up at my door and wanted to do a story. And the surprising part was when I actually started doing the Olympics during the 84 Olympics in LA, the press was all over me. They were so bored of the regular Olympics, they wanted something funny to write about. So they're surprising. I mean, I kind of thought this would be funny, but I didn't realize other people might think it's funny too.
Oh, okay. Which that's kind of like your book. You think parts are funny, you think parts are sad, but you don't really know how someone else reading it is gonna feel or take it in.
Yeah, I think I did think at some point that I should warn people. Some people will be offended by some things in the book, but that's whatever.
Right. It's kind of, you picked it up, you get what you get.
Right. Yeah. Put it down if you don't like it.
So besides writing, what else is going on for you? What is world before or after pandemic?
I'm waiting for my comedy shows to come back. A couple of them are trying, but yeah, I kind of I don't know, part of the book I talk about the alternative comedy scene in LA, which I don't know whether people know what alternative comedy is, but it's weird comedy, and people, there's a lot of these comedians who I love. And anyway, so yeah, that's not quite come back yet. I'm waiting. But there are a lot of wonderful people just doing experimental artistic things in the comedy world and here in my town. So I'm waiting for that. What else? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do have my project. So every year I put on the Neil Film Festival since 1999, I think. And every year I make the Neilist calendar, which is since 1980 or something. So that's how old I am. So anyway, so I make these fun little things. So right now I'm kind of in the middle. The fall is my period of, okay, watch all the films, pick 2 hours worth of crazy, funny films, put it together as a show. Last year, because of the pandemic, usually we meet in some kind of cool little video joint in LA, and there's a nice little audience of 50 or 100 people, and we all watch fun films, and I bring donuts for everybody. But we couldn't do that last year, so I had to figure out how to put it on Vimeo. And so we had a 2-hour little show there, and I'd introduce the films, and friends of mine helped me put it together. So last year on Vimeo. So this year, I think on Vimeo again. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so I have to figure out how to put that together. And luckily, I have friends who help me with these things.
What made you start that?
Well, in 1999, I put on the World's Fair of Nihilism, just because I thought that was funny. And it was there was a Y2K thing. So people thought computers would all explode at New Year's on 1999, 2000. So I thought it'd be fun to celebrate that. So I had a World's Fair downtown LA. And I thought, oh, well, I just have my little displays. And it'd be fun to have an event. So I said, I'll put on a film festival. So that's when I first thought of putting on a film festival. And people gave me their films, and I showed them on Friday night, and that was pretty fun. And then I kind of started realizing that it was a lot easier to do the film festival, and it was really a lot of fun just watching all these films and picking crazy funny films from all over the place. And then the internet comes along, and now I can just have a little thing on one of these websites where all the filmmakers all over the world go to the website and look for their film festivals, submit their films. And so it makes my life a lot easier. I just go and watch, and select the craziest ones.
Nice. So where can people find you, the book, the film festival?
Okay, I do have a website called Nihilists Corner, Nihilists with an S, and if you Google Nihilist Corner, or you Google my name, or you Google Nihilist Film Festival, it'll come up. But it's like nihilist.net if you're writing things down. But yeah, it's easy on Google, just my name or Nihilist Film Festival. Anyway. So yeah, the website has everything. I do have to go and put the new calendar in, but I do have a month left. But yeah, so so it has a film festival calendar and stuff about me and stuff about nihilism and stuff about other art things I've done. So if you somehow nihilism it confuses you, you can go and see what I'm talking about on my website.
Mm-hmm. For those that are like, ooh, we want to peek, we want to brief, what's the nihilism?
Okay. Well, I mean, it means I don't believe in anything. And that's confusing to people. And it's kind of, for me, it's been an art thing. I guess in the 70s and 80s. Anyway, I just started realizing, everyone's just freaked out by this idea of not believing in anything. And So I thought it'd be fun to use